The great Colt Cabana is with us here on Good Karma Wrestling as we broadcast live here at Starrcast. As always, I appreciate it, my friend. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, by the way. Great to see you. Now that I say that, we might have met in person before, have we?
I stood in line to be able to buy some from you. But I kayfabed it because there's a long line. So thank you, Colt. And
I thought maybe we had met at a Billy Corrigan show or something like that.
Did that too?
Yeah. Okay, yes. It's all coming to me now.
Chicago Ridge, met you there too.
Right. Oh, yeah. Wow, man, you're the man.
That's okay, man.
I know.
You've been hitting the head a lot.
Well, you're on radio, and so unless you're talking to me, then I wouldn't know. But also, have you? Has Kia said this is okay to have this name that you're using?
Sure.
Because she was Karma.
Yep.
And I don't know.
Well, we work for Good Karma Brands.
Okay.
So that's where we sort of work that in. So we branch off.
Right, Awesome Kong can get very.
That's
upset.
a good point.
I don't want to upset her.
I know that she's litigious,
right.
but it's all good.
Okay.
We worked it out.
Beautiful.
The Chicago way.
Thank you very much.
Gave her a pack of smoke. She was fine.
I was just gonna say what. Good Lord.
I gave her a pack of Marlboro. She was fine.
Beautiful. And what did Harry always drink? Sorry.
It was Budweiser.
Was it Budweiser?
Mm-hmm. But then O'Doul's afterwards.
No, it was Old Style. Was he not an Old Style guy?
He was the Budweiser guy.
When I always think of Cubs, I always think Old Style because they sold Old Style.
Yes,
that's why I thought.
Yes.
So they were selling Old Style, and Harry Carey is pushing Budweiser.
That's right.
He's a Bud man, the Cubs fan.
That's
okay,
right.
All right.
You remember?
Of course.
Took me a second.
He's
been hitting the head.
I've been hitting the head so many times.
I get it. Being at events like this, how much do you still appreciate these moments? I mean, years at this point, and people are still lining up wanting to hang out with you. How cool is that?
Yeah, I can't believe it. And also my star isn't as shining as it once was. So it's nice. I need a little pickup. I do get some anxiety about coming here, being like, oh man, I hope people still want to talk to me. And even last night I did this show at GCW where I came out as a surprise, and the whole time I was telling Hornswoggle, I was like, I think they're gonna boo me. And he was like, you're crazy. I was like, it's 50-50. And then I got such a nice ovation and reaction at GCW, which was great. And then, of course, here, right, there's always people, and it's always fun mingling. And, I've always said that, I've taken on this role as, an ambassador of wrestling, right? So it's just, I always love wrestling. I'm always as friendly as I can be to the fans, to the people. There's just whatever these fans love about wrestling, it's the same reason that I love wrestling. It's why I loved it as a kid, and I just happened to do a lot of hard work and put in the time and become a professional at it. So, but I get the spirit. I get why they're here, and it's not lost on me.
Colt, you being here with all this merchandise, there's always rare items that you see.
Yeah.
Can you remember a time when you saw something that even surprised you from a fan?
Yes, I can, but I can't think of it right now. I'll say this right now is I did the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Also, I'm a very cheap person, very frugal.
Yes.
There's a National Wrestling Hall of Fame, which I do every year, Waterloo, Iowa. Mm-hmm. And there was a silent auction. And one of the pieces was a framed, beautiful poster. I would say bigger than an 1824, maybe signed by Lou Thez. And it was the starting price was $20, and I put 50, and then I had to leave. And I didn't get it. And I was like, how much did I go for to the guy who was running it? And he was like $100. I was like, I'm just so cheap. I could put $100. Especially it's a Lou Thez, framed pose. He ain't signing no more autographs.
No.
So that I always love when I see those. Anytime I see, I own an 8x10 by Bruno Sammartino that I forgot how I got, but it's just just the other day I saw on not Jazzwares, Ringside Collectables. I guess someone was like, oh, they're selling these Bruno Sammartino replica belts signed for $50. I'm like, that's it. And then I was like, I'll wait for the Christmas sale to go on sale. And then I asked them the other day, I was like, you still got those belts? And they're like, no. I was like, oh. Yeah, I know.
Unbelievable.
How surreal is it to look back, even just your impact on wrestling? You talk about being friendly. We hear the BTE success, but your podcast is a big part of that also. Yeah. And how much do you realize the impact you've had on pro wrestling?
I do know that. I just remember when I was in the independent scene, and I remember this was before it before they NXT and everyone started stealing it. It was just I remember being in it 2011, 2012, doing the podcast and doing these shows that were so niche alternative and cool.
Right.
And I was like, no one really knows the scene like they should. And I was like, this is very much like an alternative comedy, like before they were stars, like bands before they were stars. And of course, the Wrestling Road Diaries, the movie I put out, is like, it was me and Brian trying to capture that right before Brian went to WWF or WWE. And so I knew how cool it was. And so I knew the importance of that was, and of course I didn't have a job. I was fired by the WWE, and I was like, I got to make a living. I knew the importance of selling t-shirts, and I knew that it wasn't just selling a t-shirt, it was selling an experience and saying hi and making friends. And there's nothing like going to a show there's nothing like going to these conventions, and I see a person, I know their name, I say their name, and it's just like, oh, you've been coming to these for years. And like, you do that enough times with enough people. I did it. The Young Bucks did it. Like, we proved it. And it literally like started an AEW promotion, like based off of that, off of the Bucks and Kenny.
And if he does some more, he doesn't have to wait for the sales, and he gets the belt.
Of course.
Yes.
You got to be able to do that. The Christmas sales always the best.
If I can get some more sales, I can buy some Bruno stuff.
Matt Classic.
Yeah, he's retired.
Yeah.
But then, you know what? Like, we just lost Terry Funk.
Yeah.
No one ever really retires, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So he's in the basement doing squats at the moment.
Is he?
Yeah, always doing it. He's kind of like Dennis Stamp, ready for his next shot.
Right.
So, but he hasn't been booked in a long time. I can't foresee him being booked in a long time.
Right.
But never say never.
Well, the reason why I asked about Matt Classic is because there had to be something that you saw that you say, you know what, I really like this character. Like, in the 1970s, you're like a territory wrestler making money hand over fist, right? You would never have to be at one of these.
No,
Matt Classic. That got to be racking up championships. Look at this guy.
And women. Yeah.
San Antonio.
And smokes.
Florida.
People would just be giving him smoke.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the more wins he would get, the more times he would smoke.
Exactly.
When the national scene finally, or the new age scene finally saw Matt Classic, it was about 2006, Wrestling Society X.
Yes.
And at that point, like,
so awesome.
At that point, wrestling wasn't as tongue-in-cheek as it is now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we don't see Matt Classic as much, because there's so much tongue-in-cheek where I don't even think people understand it, really. So back then, it really had its place. And so that's why I think Matt's just in the basement doing squats.
Understood.
What's it like for you now balancing the wrestling part, but also the backstage part and working with guys in that regard?
Yeah, I'm coaching backstage at AEW, and I do enjoy that. But of course, my number one passion is professional wrestling. And I don't want to stop until I physically can't do it. And I still feel I'm 43. I still have a couple of years left. And I'm not saying years left to go for a run. Sure. I mean, just be a tag team on the undercard. And so, and so that's kind of what I'm still, that's why I'm still there in hopes of Dennis Stamp getting the call from old Tony. And, and while I'm there, of course, I love being a part of the magic. And, I think the way my brain works, it's like I've always loved the math equation of how to math and puzzle equation of professional wrestling. And I think that's why I excelled to the extent that I did, looking the way that I do. I don't, I don't have the typical professional, or the televised, professional wrestling look. So I think my mind is an asset, and I think that's why, they're taking advantage of it. And I don't mind. I love wrestling.
I guess final thing, I'm sure you get asked this all the time. Who's out there that you haven't worked that you still want to one day?
My answer always is that it's Kenny Omega, and I don't mean Kenny Omega versus Okada. I mean Kenny Omega versus the 9-year-old girl.
Yes,
that's the Kenny that I want.
Yes, yes.
And then I don't even think it's possible, but this is a little inside baseball maybe, or a little, I don't know, everyone will pick up on it, but Brandon Cutler and I have been trying to tag a little bit, and I was like, hey, we should watch some Florida Brothers content, who is an old Japanese, early 2000 pure comedy. Have you ever seen Florida Brothers stuff? Yeah, J-Hood, I love you so much, man. I I'm always I wonder if he's that deep, and he is.
Yes,
he is.
Yes.
He is. Yeah.
Well, you've been watching this shit since 77. I guess I know about the Florida Brothers.
Yeah. And so they were a Japanese tag team who were clearly Japanese and saying they were from Florida.
Yes.
And I guess it would hold a whole new meaning nowadays.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Maybe they should grab Janela and tag up as the Florida man, but. I guess the dream match would probably be me and Cutler versus the Florida Brothers for 2023 Colt Cabana.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I think Tony will book that.
Yeah, why not?
I hope so. Although, man, I also, before the pandemic, before I signed with AEW, I was tagging with Yano, and I was going to be a full-time New Japan wrestler with Yano, and I made the decision to go to AEW. So Maybe there's something in like me, Cutler, and Yano versus the Florida Brothers and Florida Man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Florida Man. Okay, there you
I don't know
go.
if Tony will book Janela anymore, but we'll see.
Well, we're glad you stopped by the table. I was telling him that the Cubs are good. He just looked at me like he knows about the Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean, you're synonymous, man, with the Chicago sports.
My mom went to every single game in the bleachers in '62.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up. I come home from school. She would be on the couch watching the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
So I called the score and asked. I think it was maybe Jiggets and North.
Yeah.
When Buechele got traded to the Cubs, I said it was the biggest thing since Santo. I don't know. But once I got into wrestling, man, my love and obsession of sports started to really take a tail. And but I still, in my heart, is always the Chicago Cubs. Of course.
See, of course it is.
Yes.
You're a Chicago sports icon, Colt.
I appreciate that.
Have you seen your billboards? Everyone's seen them.
Of course I've
Is
seen
it you or Urlacher?
Yes.
It's one or the other.
Or I used to do some stand-up, and I would say, it used to be, what was it? I said, One Ortiz is doing such a good thing because every time it's like the gun trade-in program. Every time they put up a Colt, billboard, they take one down of Man Cow. So we're doing good for the city.
Yeah, exactly.
And then my punch up to that was not all good guys wear capes, is that what they say?
Right.
But they do wear T-shirts.
That's right. See? Did you see that when you flew in from West Palm?
I've seen Urlacher. I've not seen yours yet.
Oh, it's up there.
Wow.
It's
because I got a good head of hair.
That's right.
That's why.
It's every other one. You'll see it. Thank you, brother.
I
As
appreciate
always.
you guys so much. You're the man.